is tips for creating online videos, and my name is Tom Pantazes. I am an instructional designer with the Office of Distance Education here at Westchester University. And I'm going to do something a little bit different that I've done in the past today, did a little engagement. I have allowed both of you to draw on the screen, and you should notice on the left-hand side there's a little toolbar, and the second button looks kind of like a marker or pen. If you click on that, you should be able to use your mouse to circle the location where you are today. Um, and if it's somewhere not at all where I'm listed, you can circle the Westchester University logo in the lower right. I see someone's in Maine. I'm guessing that might be Shannon. I'm going to go ahead and grab my pen and let you all know that I'm I'm right here in Wayne, and it looks like we have someone uh, over in the Matlock parking structure. Oh, that's very interesting. But the reason I did that not only give us a sense of where we're coming from today, but also to give you a little practice. Oh, South Campus. Then you can circle the South Campus logo, Sherry. The box. I just didn't want to put the map up, just it would get a little too small. But I want to make sure you had the ability to practice with the pen and know where the pen is, because we are going to use that again in a little while. So Sherry's actually down there. Uh, so moving on. If you could use the chat section and just give me a rough guess as to how many videos you have made or created, and keep it focused on instructional videos. I would say my rough guess is somewhere between 30 and 40, um, and with the vast majority of them having come in the last year. Um, Shannon might, oh, she's typing, okay. So let's see. 15 to 20. All right, so you can see the range of experience that we have here from I've really only done one. I know Shannon has some experience, and I'm a little further ahead. Um, so thinking about what you've made, and also videos that you may have seen, I'm just curious again if you would use the chat. What is something that makes a video high quality? Okay. Clear, concise information. Excellent. Not too busy. Getting right to the point. Clarity is so important in the online environment. Just about everything we do. Keeps your attention. Yeah, can't stress that one enough. Visually attractive. Totally agree with you, Sherry. Those are all some really great points, and you'll see that they will come up here as we go through this presentation today. So I always like to start kind of like answering the question of why. So why movies? And if you look on the screen here, you'll see the Universal Design and Learning Framework. And movies are great at addressing multiple means of representation, which is the purple brain in the middle there. If you use captions with a video, you have visuals, you have auditory, and you have text, which from an instructional standpoint are what I like to consider the big three. The other thing I love about videos, and one of the things that helps from a universal design standpoint, is that students can watch them again and rewind them. They can't really rewind you in your face-to-face class. So um, I just want to put it out there that I recognize that for some people, doing a simple screen recording is what they have knowledge and skill in, and I want to say that that is okay. A lot of what I'm going to cover today is going to kind of take that simple screen recording idea and try to take it a little further and advance it a little further. To kind of move up the scale of quality, to move towards some of those things that you talked about in the chat just a minute or two ago. Um, Recognize that you do not need to do everything I'm going to talk about today, but the more that you do them, the various elements I'm going to talk about, the better quality video product you're going to put forward, and you should have better learning that comes off of that as well. That students are going to know what they need to know. Um, so moving on. So you want to be a movie producer. I've kind of broken the stages of movie production, especially instructional movie production, down into three steps: pre-production, production, and post-production, which happens to be terms that they also use when making actual movies. And I put some of my favorite um, movie producer, director types up on the screen there. So pre-production. To me, this is the most important area. Planning is crucial to success. I saw a quote just the other day that Abe Lincoln said at some point, and I could be getting the numbers wrong, but 6 hours, if you have 6 hours to cut down a tree, you spend 4 hours sharpening your axe. Um, and that's that idea that if you can really invest the time and preparation in planning out what you're going to do really well, you're going to have a high quality video that you can use over and over again. So coming back to that why a video question, the first thing you should ask yourself is, well, why do I want to use a video? What purpose is it going to serve in your class? Is it going to be an effective way to instruct on this content? Besides the universal design and learning value that we've already articulated, it's important for you to make sure that you can verify that the way you're going to teach through the video is a strong match to the content you're trying to convey and the pedagogical approach, which in this case is something related to presenting information or lecturing or having students watch a video. And just making sure that those connections are strong and that the content you're trying to teach through the video should be taught through a video, that it's the right medium. Now, once you've made that determination, the next thing you need to think about is style. What kind of video are you going to produce? Since most of what we encounter here on campus is related to some sort of taking lectures in the face-to-face environment and moving them into the online environment, I've highlighted two of um, the styles of video that researchers say are a little bit better for that kind of idea. And one of them is the talking head, and the other one is the narrated drawing. The narrated drawing is the Khan Academy style, and the talking head is exactly what it sounds like. So for you, it's determining, which one am I going to use? And as you're going through that process, I would strongly encourage you to think about how you're going to bring yourself into the video. I know people don't like to hear themselves or like to see themselves, but in that online environment, that personalization and humanization of who you are goes a long way to helping students see you as a person and seeing you as an active participant. And that helps them be more involved and be willing to engage in conversation with you. So it's important you think about and ways in which you're going to bring yourself into the video you're going to produce. And then at that point, you've gone through those stages of kind of initial planning. Now it's time to figure out what are the main points you're going to try to convey in this video. What are those key ideas going to be, and trying to keep those key ideas to a minimum, not getting too crazy and too large. And you'll see in a minute why it's good to keep things in small chunks. Now, as you're identifying your main points, you're going to have to start preparing some sort of content structure. And there's a lot of debate on this as to what's the best way to do that. Should you create an outline or should you create a script? We even have this debate within our office. Although I'm not saying that Mark, who is in the picture there, the other picture, is an outline supporter. I haven't actually found out which way he prefers. But just a couple things to keep in mind. Scripts help you stay focused and concise, as well as making captioning a lot easier. However, you have a challenge where you may not come across as natural. It may be a little robotic. So you have to be aware of that. Outlines, on the other hand, allow you to be a little more natural. You can be a little more human. They allow for some tangents potentially, a little more off the cuff. However, they make it harder to do captioning, and sometimes you can start to ramble yourself and then your video gets too long. And so just some things to think about as you're preparing your video structure. Um, which one of those is going to fit you and your situation the best? I am a proponent of scripts. I like to write it all out, but you can make your own determination for what works for you. Next up is kind of putting everything in order. A good instructional video is going to get their attention right away through some means of attention capturing. You're going to get right to the point you're trying to make. You're going to put that information out there that supports your point, or the points that you're trying to make. And a couple different ways that you can present your information is through storytelling, interviews of someone else or yourself. That would be a kind of a fun way to do it if you're interviewing yourself and you keep flipping between screenshots. Another thing we stress with videos is you want to overview the material. You really don't want to be going really detailed on every little point in one video. And the last thing we talk about with order is making sure that you sum it up, that you kind of have said, all right, here's what we've learned in this video, and that you do it quickly. So get their attention, get to the point, get your information out there, and then make sure that you've summarized it in some way. That's a good organizational structure for video creation. Now, this is probably the question I get asked the most. How long should it be? Our office best practices say 10 to 15 minutes, and we say that as a compromise to folks who really want to make longer videos, because recent research really is highlighting that if it's anything more than 6 minutes, your chances of students getting through the whole thing go down significantly. My guideline, and this is Tom Pantazes, is what he says to teachers is you use as much time as you need to clearly and succinctly convey your content, and you use no more than that. Some topics are going to need to take more than 6 minutes, but you should have had the thought process in your head that says, okay, I think this needs to take 10 minutes and here's why, and you've really looked at it and been absolutely sure you could not have made it any shorter. If you have long content that can be broken up into smaller chunks, that's better to do than to put one large video together. Now, I know that takes more time for you, but the research has borne out that even long sequences of content broken into small chunks, students understand that and get through that much better than they would if it's a really long video. So 6 minutes. Something else to consider with your video is how you're going to incorporate some student interactivity with it in some way, shape, or form. How are they going to interact with that video? Don't make it a passive situation where you just say, watch the video, and that's the end of it. Give them some notes to fill out as they watch. Give them some questions to consider as they watch. Give them some questions to answer after they watch. Give them some questions to answer as they're watching. There's lots of different ways to kind of incorporate having students interact or engage with that video, and give some thought as you're preparing the video, how you plan to do that. There's some tools out there that are called Caption or Edpuzzle that help with this, but the quiz tool in D2L also allows you to set up a question with a video and then, or set up a quiz with a video and then have some questions after it. So there's definitely a way to incorporate some interactivity, some expectation of students doing something with the video that they are watching. So pre-production also requires, once you've kind of laid out your plan and started to figure out what you're going to do with your video, that you get your materials. And this is where I like to mention that variety is a good element of it for engaging students, that you're using a combination of different pictures and video clips or written resources, sound effects, songs, music, that you're trying to really utilize the strengths of this particular medium. Use videos and photos that show your concepts that you're trying to teach. Try to be visual in your presentation of information. I don't know if you've noticed that through my presentation. I don't have a lot of words on the screen. High quality images are really important, and I'm going to show you an example of that in a minute. And as you get better, and yes, this is a skill that you can develop and practice, you will start to see how you can incorporate resources from other sources, how you can use one video editing program to do one thing and another video editing program to do another, and then bring them together. Um, and then your videos can really start to become these really amazing, wonderful, powerful instructional activities. So as I was mentioning with the images, the high quality images is really important, and it's all about pixel size. So this is a 211 by 186 pixel image, and you can usually get that information on an image by right-clicking on it and going to properties. And I stretched it out to make it bigger so that you could see it on the screen, and that doesn't look very good, does it? It's very pixelated. That's not a high quality image. That is in fact what 211 by 186 should look like. So you can see what happens when you take tiny pictures and make them bigger. My recommendation is find bigger pictures, or take pictures, take your own pictures. That's a great way to bring in your own flavor, your own element. So, I mentioned the pen tool. I'm going to turn the drawing back on, and I'd like you to circle which of these points you found most helpful for you in the presentation. You only can pick one. So use your drawing tool. Which one of these was most helpful? It was new to you, or yeah, you learned the most, or had some new tidbit. Which one of these, of the pre-production ones, did you find most useful? And for someone it was length, and I'm glad to hear that. 6 minutes, 6 minutes, 6 minutes. Style. I'm guessing that might be Shannon because she changed the color. But I mean, you could feel free to correct me if you're wrong. So that's great. I'm glad there was something there that was helpful for you, and this also serves as a little reminder that here were the 8 main points of pre-production. Why the video, the style you're going to do it, making sure you're in it, organizing those main points in a structure that makes sense for you, keeping it short, figuring out how to engage students, and making sure you bring everything you need together to make your video. All right, we're going to turn the draw off and move on to production. This is where we actually make the video. And I know Sherry's typing, so I will click slowly. Sherry, that's a great question. It depends on how big your video is, but typically something in the thousands. But it depends on how big within your video it's going to be. You should be able to tell when you're making your video, and I'll point something out when we're in Camtasia, but typically something that's in the thousand. Most digital cameras are taking pictures at that size at this point. It's only if you're taking things off the internet that you have to be a little careful about that. All right, so I know this could go in pre-production too, but as you're getting ready to record your video, prepare your space. Find a quiet place where you're not going to be distracted. It's helpful if it's clean. For some reason, that just helps us present better. Good, strong lighting is important. I think my lighting in my room today is pretty good if you look at my camera, which I never turned on. So let me turn that on. Here I was doing all this crazy hand motion and you couldn't see it. Good lighting is important, and we have a recording booth that can help with that. A good pair of headphones, USB, which you can usually get for $20 or $30, will typically suffice. And that will help you make sure you record good quality audio. If you want a space that has all of these things, you can come check out our recording booth here in Wayne Hall to do your video recordings. You won't be distracted by students. There is no phone in there, so no one can call you. We have all the lighting and equipment you need, and it's a good resource that you can take advantage of. So if you're going to be on camera, and even if you're not, this also is not a bad thing to do, but dress the part. Stick with neutral or solid colors instead of tight patterns like stripes. So I'm breaking my rule right here. Don't wear things that are highly reflective or jewelry that makes a lot of noise when you're moving around, because those kinds of things can be distracting to the audience. And you definitely want to think about something that's comfortable and that helps you kind of perform at your best and be relaxed. And in some situations, you may want to think about recording in not, you know, the best professional dress, but in most instances, I think you want to dress the part. You'll feel good when you're doing the recording, and you'll feel like you're in that situation in that classroom. So it's definitely something to think about. I think sometimes we don't do enough of this, and that's to practice what you're going to say on the recording. Practicing your script and your outline at least once, but potentially a few other times. And to do that so that you know when you need to um, emphasize a particular word, or a way or a particular way you want to say something, or just those different points where might need to pause or speed up. By going through a practice, it will give you that opportunity to identify those points and be prepared to do those well when you're actually recording. This one's important, making eye contact with the camera. Uh, don't forget to do that at least some of the time. If you're like me, I still want to be able to read my script, but I do try to look at the camera and seem active and engaged as I'm going through my video. Staying focused is hard, but it's important. Staying focused on what you're going to say, staying focused on your recording process, making sure you're kind of in the zone with the recording, and not letting other distractions get in the way of making your video. This one's important. Um, you like your subject, right? You like what you're teaching. At least I hope so. So smile. Even if you're not recording your face, if you're smiling while you're talking, it comes through in the audio. So don't forget to do that when you're in a recording time frame. I love that picture, don't you? All right, so you were recording and you were talking and you make a mistake. For example, like this. Um, my name is Tom Pantazes, or my name is Professor Pantazes. I don't know if you noticed there, but I paused after I made my mistake and I went back to whatever the clean starting point was and I started again. And I didn't change my recording, I just kept going. And the reason for that is I can go back later in editing and take out that little blip so that it sounds nice and smooth. And it's easier to go in and edit out the little blip than it is to stop your recording and go back and start the whole thing over again. So it's okay if you get to an instance where you and then you keep going, or you trumble over a word or any of those things. Just take a pause, count to one or two, actually count to two or three in your head, and then keep going. And that break, that silence, will help you with the editing, to cut out that part where you trip up. Um, you also, I don't think people take advantage of this enough, but you have a pause button during recording. You can pause the recording if you need to take a break or you need to go find another resource. And then you can hit record again and keep going, and it will pick up from right where you paused it. So don't let mistakes or things like that cause you to have to re-record the whole thing all over again. So same thing as before. I'm going to turn the drawing tools on. And this time I just have the images for the production aspects of preparing a good video. So why don't you use that drawing tool, Sherry, and go ahead and let me know which one of the 7 production elements that we talked about was most helpful to you. Again, you can only pick one. Eye contact. Yes, very important. I think for me, I need the reminder to this one right here, to smile. It's easy for me to tell people that, but I don't always do a good job of doing that when I'm recording. So thanks for participating in that one there. All right, last stage here, post-production. This is where we go from like good to great with videos. So the one thing I want to emphasize is that editing does take time. And I know that faculty are busy, I recognize that, but if you can take the time to edit your video and to really hone in on the vision you had when you started in your planning process, you're going to have that much better of a product for students. Um, and depending on the complexity of your editing and the length of your video, it can take a while. Um, I've had 3-minute videos that I've done for our office that have had a lot of complexity in them that have taken me multiple hours to put together. Now, don't let that scare you. As a faculty member, you typically don't need to use a lot of the complex aspects that I might need to when I'm creating a tutorial. Um, I think for a 6-minute video, the editing process might be 20 minutes for a faculty member in terms of cutting out some of the mistakes and making sure the visual looks good and you've incorporated what you need to. But just be aware that it can take some time and that to do it well and to do it right, you should plan for that. One of the things that we recommend if you're editing on your computer is that you do one file for all the resources that you need for the video clip that you make, for any slides that you used. If you're going to re-record or record audio separately, that you get all that in one place. It's just going to make it easier when it comes time to put it all into the editing program. And when you have a finished video and you know you're not going to be editing it again, it makes it easy to get rid of everything you don't need. I typically do one folder for each video. That way it just keeps me organized that way. But that's a good question. I actually do folder inside of a folder. I have a folder called videos, and then inside that folder there's separate folders for each video. And I will show you that here in a minute when I move over to my screen. I'm going to give you a sense of what it looks like for me. Um, when you're editing, get rid of the dead space. And dead space can take many different forms. It can be the couple seconds at the beginning where you're walking over from turning the camera on to the front of the room. It can be pauses. It can be when you're done recording and you're walking back to turn the camera off. Sometimes dead spaces are questions that students ask in a live lecture capture situation that you don't want to include in the real video. Take the time to really trim up so that it's a tight, concise audio that just keeps moving along. Um, Now, I'm not saying edit out every dead space between each word or sentence to really tighten it up. It's just they make themselves evident where there's a pause of more than a couple seconds of silence that you're not doing something in. This one's really important. I can't stress this enough. And we have a whole webinar just on this subject of captioning your video. I did want to take this opportunity to mention that if you use Kaltura to host your video, which is what the university provides, there is a service that would allow captioning to be done for you. It's about 98% accurate. So you do have to go back in and watch the captioning with your video and kind of send in any corrections. And then at that point, the video is 100% captioned correctly. But that's a big time saver for you potentially. So that's something to consider. If you choose to host your videos through YouTube, like our office does, then you're responsible for captions, and that's one of the good reasons to have a script. The Office of Distance Ed can help you in that regard if you are going to produce a lot of videos and need some assistance there. It's fairly easy to do in Camtasia, but they help people more than just those folks that can't hear. There's a huge percentage of people that will turn them on because they find it's easier for them to read than it is to listen, or they're in a noisy environment and that's how they're going to get the information. So they're really, really good technique to do, and I know a lot of people are kind of like, captions, I won't worry about that. But I strongly encourage you to think about that as you move forward. And the problem is if you ever end up with a student in your class that needs them, you have to provide them at that point. So why not spend the time to do it now and provide that learning advantage to everyone, no matter who they are. So definitely something to think about. And this is a bonus. You don't have to do this, but if you're using Camtasia, they actually have some music tracks you can use. And you can put a little music in the background, kind of elevator music-esque. There's a way to turn it way down so it's super quiet in the background. But it just adds an element of, like this is more than just a straight screen capture. And there's an engagement aspect there that goes on. And yes, Shannon, students love the music. So I say that this isn't a bonus way. You don't need it, but it's just one of those things that kind of kicks it up a notch. I mentioned these two hosting solutions. I just wanted to point that out again, that at least here at Westchester, when you're producing video, how you get it to students is through one of these two options. And they have their pros and their cons. Our office tends to lean towards, wait, I should lean that way, YouTube. Um, but the university's official one is Kaltura My Media. So that's a good conversation to have with your instructional designer as you're thinking about what you're going to do with your video, which service makes the most sense for you. Um, One thing that we like to do with our videos here and is to just very clearly delineate the beginning and end. And the way we do that in the Office of Distance Ed is we have a 3-second clip that shows the university logo and says the Office of Distance Ed on it. And we try to start and end all of our videos, at least since I've been here with that, because it's a way to say, you know, all right, we're starting, and a way to say, up, we're done. A different way to think about doing that is to have a title slide that just says, you know, this is uh, how to write a short paper, and then at the end to be like, okay, we're done. Um, so it doesn't have to be long. It can be super fast, but it just kind of gives them that Merkich Films copyright too. I like that. That's great. It just helps students know, okay, start and end. It also helps you too, kind of be like, okay, it's starting and ending, and it's not just this up. The professor started talking, which gets back to that idea of editing dead space. So I'm going to turn the drawing tool back on again, and this time let's see if you can actually like write out which post-production element was most helpful for you. This one might be a little too challenging, but you've got all that white space there. Which of the post-production elements did you find to be most useful or most helpful for you today? And again, you can only pick one. And I am challenging your memory a little bit here. Haha, someone found the text tool. I'm guessing that was Shannon. Maybe not. I could be wrong. Excellent. Oh, it was Shannon. Hey, I was right. So thanks for sharing those, both of you guys. Um, I'm glad that those things stood out for you. Oh, it was Sherry? Oh, okay, cool. Well, anyway, I appreciate that you shared those ideas with us here. All right. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and turn your microphones back on. So if you give me just... Oh, wait, were your microphones on the whole time? Yeah, I think yours has been on the whole time, Shannon. Anyway, I turn your microphone rights back on. Um, I can go into Camtasia a little bit and kind of show you a few things. If you have questions or something specifically you'd like me to just quickly highlight, I'm happy to do that. So let me get that going here. And here's Camtasia. So I know I mentioned somebody was asking about picture size. Up here, I hope you can see that, in Camtasia is the screen size, and they have some different options. Typically, we encourage the great for YouTube, which is 1280 by 720, and that is in pixels. So if you have images that are in that range, that's usually a good image size. What size do I have up right now? I have 1920 by 1080, which is super high HD. I usually stick with that, with the 1280 by 720. So I have already captured a little screen recording using the record screen here, and you can see down in the lower left how it's on the track. If I wanted to add some music, there's a library button right here, and then all these music folders, and the lengths are listed, and you just drag it down, and here it is. And you can see it's showing the audio levels, but if you click audio, you can then drag and manipulate. So I can make it super quiet so that the audio of my voice talking still comes through really clearly. So that's what I wanted to talk about with that one, because I know there was some question about that. Just so you can see, this is my video folder. I have a lot of videos. These are actually the finished videos in here. And then in recordings, I'm not necessarily practicing what I'm preaching completely, but that's because I'm pulling from a lot of resources. But if you look at my pictures, each video gets its own folder for images. So like this was a video I did. All the static images were in one folder so that I can reference them. I use a lot of things cross video, so I don't always put them in one folder, but for most faculty, the way that they operate, the one folder technique will work best for them. The 3-second video that I was mentioning is this DE intro video. So let me bring that in so you can see it. And super simple. I hope this comes through okay on the screen recording. But whoop, there's the music playing. So is there any questions? Let me check the chat and see if you guys have any. There it is. Sherry's typing. Ah, excellent, excellent. Sherry, you can probably just say it. I think we can hear you.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, the one thing that I'm always concerned about is in copyright infringement. You know, what can I copy into? I know that education has a pretty broad positive acceptance of what you can use, but are there any limitations? In like clip art or pictures that you find online, or
Yes, and the problem is it's going to be very specific to the individual instances. Now, I just stopped sharing my screen, of course. There's a website that I like to use for looking for copyright-free images. So let me pull it up and then share my screen again. And it's called Pixabay, and they have a lot of images out there that you totally just free, are released free of copyrights under Creative Commons CC 0.
that is so helpful. Thank you.
Yes. Now, if you're looking for an image that's really specific to your discipline, chances are it's not going to be in here. However, if you're getting to an image like that, you have a much stronger case of using it from a fair use perspective because it's really specific to what you're teaching. So it really is on a case-by-case basis.
Okay.
I try to capture my own video. Even if I'm capturing video of something that might have a copyright on it, I'm the one creating the video. So it's my creative interpretation of whatever, like Desire to Learn, when I'm creating screenshots, it's my take on that. So I'm the copyright holder of that video, even though the Desire to Learn system itself, I believe, is maybe not copyrighted, but trademarked. And when in doubt, ask for permission.
Okay.
The other thing I like to recommend is, in today's day and age, you can take a lot of pictures yourself with your camera.
Right.
And if you take a couple pictures every day, it doesn't take very long to build up a pretty awesome library. Music-wise, I found a site, thanks to Shannon, who's on here, called Ben Sound. So I've used some of his stuff in videos. His deal is you have to cite him, but you can use it for free. And I will also, YouTube has some sound effects and music that you can use for free. I use the Camtasia stuff a good bit, and I'm actually currently exploring how we might find some resources that allow us to make our own music pretty easily. So I haven't found anything great yet, but I'm looking. All right, now I'm going to stop sharing my screen again. So, I didn't get into too much technical just because it's best for you to work with either an instructional designer or the IT services in terms of getting the training that you need, we can customize it a little bit better than if I try to show you some things here. Next week's webinar is going to be a little more on the advanced side of how to use Camtasia, but I'm going to go into how you can do some effects and do some of the more kind of engaging things. So that's something to think about if you're really interested in video production. I pretty well used up my time here. Open for any more questions if you have them. I appreciate you taking time out of your busy day to join us. I know your time is valuable. Um, so thank you, thank you, thank you for being here. Just a reminder, the contacts for our office for the instructional designers and our support specialist, and that we have after hours support that's available for both faculty and students Monday to Thursday, 4:30 to 10 p.m. and on Sunday from 12 to 8. So if you have a question during those time frames, call Amber, she's excellent. And if you have a question during regular business hours, call your instructional designer. Sherry, who is your instructional designer? Do you know? Okay, so call Mark during the day, and if it's after 4:30, call Amber. And Shannon, you know how to get a hold of me. So thanks again, everybody. Have a great weekend. I'm looking forward to a good birthday once I get past the whole funeral thing I have to go to.